Hey everybody, it's Christina Holloway here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about 7 reasons why some of the more common metrics for motivation in the workplace are a scam and how it could be working against you. Also this year I'm sharing 12 leadership metrics that will help you succeed in your career. This is pretty much a full framework for how to build your skills to build your career. This month we're talking about motivation and engagement. You can catch up on all of the videos in the playlists on my YouTube channel. Everything is linked below in the description. Make sure to check it out. Real quick, if you enjoy this content and want to learn more about how to make power moves in your career, make sure to follow my channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video from me. All right, so let's get started. First, let's clear up some myths about what motivation and engagement should look like. For an organization to create motivation in the workforce, it needs to create a powerful connection between those employees and the work they do for the organization. It needs to tap into their real motivations for why they want to work there, beyond money. That means an organization should create a culture that creates a positive working environment where people feel enthusiastic, makes the link between people's inner motivations in the work they do, designs tasks in a way that aligns with people's motivations, and develops empowered teams. This is important. It's why people stay at companies a long time. It's a very specific environment that lets you feel like you're valued beyond just your work output. It makes you feel like you're a part of something bigger. And more importantly, it's what keeps you going back day after day, year after year. Without that level of motivation and engagement, which has nothing to do with money, benefits, and equity, then you'll start to feel like the job you have is irrelevant to your own personal well-being and feeling of significance in the world. And I know, it sounds big, but if you're struggling right now with why you even still have this crappy job that you've been giving so much of yourself towards, then you understand what I'm saying. You have to get something in return that helps you feel like you have a purpose. There's more to your job than just work. So before I go any further, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know how things are going for you. I know that what I've described can sound like a unicorn company, and I'm sure plenty of you are feeling the burnout and the ungratefulness of a company that's been taking too much of you for far too long. So that leads me to these 7 areas of a company's culture that could indicate you are not working at a company that values your motivation and engagement as a mark of good productivity. Number 1, there's misalignment of values. I mentioned in a previous video that I don't really remember all the company values for a company where I worked for 18 years, but I do remember one, and it was respect for the individual. It was the entire guiding principle for why I stayed at that company so long, and it was the litmus test for whether I was in a good department or team. If the people around me behaved in a disrespectful manner, not just to me, but also to each other, then I would need to make a decision about how long I wanted to stay with that team. Now, obviously, I worked at a very large corporation and I had the flexibility to move around. I couldn't make big moves every 6 months, but knowing what I valued most about basic principles of, kindness, fairness, equity, I'd use that guiding principle to evaluate where I was going to go next. Because the people you work around have to also be aligned with your values. And if you're not working with those aligned people, you're going to be very unhappy. You're also going to be unmotivated, especially if you have a boss who uses that type of value as a talking point and not much else. I believe in respect for the individual unless I'm not getting what I want. Then it's no holds barred. Well, that's a bunch of crap. Number 2, there is a lack of recognition and reward. I recently gave an in-person presentation to a local organization, and afterwards a participant came up to ask me a question about engagement, and she said that the entry-level hires are disengaged and rarely feel like the work they're doing is relevant or important. They make base pay and they are very uninterested in doing more or showing that they can do more. So we talked about recognition and rewards. The first thing you need to do is figure out what would motivate your team to do more than just phone it in. And that was her problem. She knew she was building an entry-level team. They could stay or leave, and the pay didn't matter. I'm going to say this throughout this video. The biggest misconception about motivation and engagement is the misunderstanding that people will do anything if you pay them enough. No, they won't. It will have the opposite effect. They will start to resent that job. If you pay me ungodly amounts of money, I will eventually realize that it's not worth it. And if you pay me the base minimum amount, I will realize that I'm expendable. So what's going to keep me at this job? A certain level of recognition for my efforts beyond what you already pay me. And if that means bonuses, fine. If that means better assignments, that sounds good too. Maybe that means employee of the month with a free 30 days of gas money or coffee and donuts or a certificate I can hang in my cubicle. That all sounds nice to me. If you're not being recognized for your contributions, but more importantly, for your unique talent, then you'll start to feel that the company or your boss is taking advantage of you. Recognition and reward is really about helping you feel like you're a part of something meaningful. And that's really important for motivation and engagement. Number 3, there is poor leadership. Let's face it. You're not going to be motivated to do anything when you have a bad boss, but even more so if you recognize poor leadership at the top of the company. A couple of years ago, I was coaching quite a few people at a company that would acquire other companies and consolidate them. That's how they grew. That was their growth plan. The more smaller companies they acquired, the bigger their client base. The problem was that they started to look like a patchwork quilt. Each acquired company kept its own reporting structure. The business didn't look like one cohesive business with one main objective and offering for its client base. There was confusion and a lack of operational consistency. And yeah, these people were confused and unhappy. The more they were promoted, the more they had visibility to the disorganization of the leadership team. They started sharing thoughts with me that this was a house of cards, that it was only a matter of time before it all fell apart. Their head of operations would tell me about millions of dollars that would go unaccounted for because no one knew where it was going. She had a big job. You can't have motivation and engagement when you realize you're the person who keeps trying to use corks to stop a flood of problems coming through really big holes in the foundation. If you're in this situation, do what my client did. Every time she found missing money, she created her own recognition and reward, and she passed it down to her team. She'd create recognition metrics, and for every time they uncovered a disconnect in reporting or they recovered money from past due accounts, she would recognize how great her team was and would push that narrative upward to leadership. It was clever, because she was illustrating where she and her team added value, but also she was giving them a complete report for where their problems were creating a loss in income. When she aligned value and accomplishment to losses recovered or revenue gained, she connected it to the survival of the business. It was very clever. Number 4, you work in a burnout culture. I think that it's easy in today's world to get caught up in thinking that the harder you work, the more valuable you must be to your employer. And if you keep pushing yourself to work harder, then you'll be seen as extremely valuable until you're not. If you get sick, if you have to take personal time off because of an emergency, if your job is suddenly redundant and you're part of a workforce reduction, you forget who you are and where you add value. And it's really easy to fall into this narrative. I have an executive client who told me last week that he's gone 90 days in a row on business calls. And I said, that's crazy. What do you do on the weekends to disconnect? And he said, no, you misunderstood me. 90 days in a row, including weekends. Not to mention that many of his days are triple booked on calls, meaning he has 3 calls that are happening at the same time and he's trying to make himself available for. And now he has a coach because he wants to work on better time management. Oh no. If you have this job, I'll tell you what I told him. Boundaries. Your health is at stake. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being alarmist. Go touch grass. Take deep breaths outside and then figure out how to say no without feeling like you're less of a person because you're cutting back. and you can tell me that your company won't tolerate that, and that's fine. You can always leave. That's a good answer, but another answer is that there might be other people around you who are also afraid to set boundaries. Together, you get to create a culture and environment that helps you thrive and not one that destroys you. Change starts from within. That means within you and within the company. Number 5, there is lack of meaningful work. If you have a job at a company that you really like and you're really looking forward to contributing in a meaningful way with your knowledge on this particular job and its requirements, then it's going to make a difference if you have good responsibilities and tasks rather than just doing some housekeeping work and small, meaningless tasks that don't lead anywhere. People in general like to do 2 things. 1, they like to illustrate where they're knowledgeable about certain things, topics, areas of expertise. It helps them feel valuable. And 2, they like to build on that knowledge in general. You're always welcome to share with me that one person you know who hates to learn, and I would believe you, they exist. But if you're watching this video, you probably are that person who likes to contribute what you know and keep learning and growing. Without that, work becomes tedious and a grind. If you're stuck in this situation, then volunteering to lead a project, work on a task force, or help with a bigger assignment that no one else wants can help you feel more engaged with the work you're doing. Even volunteering with a nonprofit organization that appreciates your knowledge will help you build out experiences that will look good on your resume. Number 6, you have experienced broken promises. I have a client from last year who was allowed to hire an executive coach because she was tapped for an executive role as a VP. We worked together for 6 months, and they told her that when the promotions came around in the next cycle, she would get one. And that came and went. I asked what happened. And she said her promotion was dependent on someone else getting moved, and that didn't happen either. The business had decided to make changes in strategic direction, and all the promotions that had been lined up just disappeared. So now what? She still has her job, and we worked together to make sure she had a good bonus and equity package that would keep her there a little longer. And that's fine. But the thing is, she shrugged about the money. And at that level, it's not really about getting more and more money. I know it's hard for me to say, but it's true. At her level, it's really about the accomplishment and recognition for all her efforts. And that was taken away from her. If this happens to you, but it happens frequently, like you've been passed over for a simple promotion year after year, and you're not getting a big fat retention bonus to stay, then ask yourself some tough questions. Is this really where you want to stay in a holding pattern? And be honest with yourself. Sometimes staying in a holding pattern feels safe. What if I can't do the next level job? What if I get fired or laid off? Staying here doesn't seem so bad. Sure, allow yourself to feel that way and then make your move anyway. Staying somewhere where leadership doesn't care about acknowledging your accomplishments will eventually turn you into a ghost employee. You'll start to hear things like, I didn't know you still worked here. I thought you left after the 6th time they passed you up for a promotion. That's your cue to leave. Number 7, there is poor communication from leadership. I have a client right now who is struggling with being told that he needs to come up with new and innovative ways to solve existing problems. This is a mandate from leadership. That's great because he has plenty of innovative ideas. But when he tries to implement them, the leadership team pushes back because of a fear of change. He's frustrated and he's stuck. This is a common scenario too. Companies these days know that they need to keep up with innovation and changes in technology. So that's usually one of their yearly goals, to lead the industry in innovation. And the thing is, they have plenty of people working in these prominent positions who have the means and the frameworks to make these changes happen. It's the fear of change that keeps these leadership teams from communicating effectively on how to make that happen. This executive is really stuck with knowing how to make the changes the company wants and constantly getting static from leadership on how to do it and how long it should take. They have no clear vision and they lack unified communication on what to do. If you're in this position, do your best to create a full outline and proposal, over communicate with them, and ask for guidance. You'll eventually need to figure out who has the most authority to make decisions and start coalition building to get your ideas and concepts in front of the right people. From there, document your accomplishments until you feel you've made a decent amount of progress. Then consider where you want to go next with those experiences. Without a path forward, just like with all 7 of these scenarios, you won't really feel like contributing your best ideas and efforts to this job. That's the difference between having a job and building a career. All right, so that's it for my video on 7 scenarios where motivation in the workplace is working against you. If you have examples of how you found motivation at work, maybe even with a broken culture, feel free to share them in the comments below. I'd love to hear about them. And if you enjoyed watching this video and you found it helpful, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up by hitting that like button, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you never miss another video from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.